Japan time the following day, and we didn't get any sleep on the plane, so we ended up being awake 36 hours. Not ideal, but all worth it. But before I get into what we got up to in Tokyo, I thought I would give some general tips. So, number 1, download and activate your eSIM before you go. I used the app Arilo and got 20 gigabytes of data for 30 days, and I did end up with some left over, but make sure you do this before, because I did not, and so when I landed I had to use 5G to download and activate, which I got charged for. Number 2, get Pasmo Pass at the airport train station. This is basically like an Oyster card, so it's a physical card you can top up with cash at specific vending machines, and then you can tap in and out on any bus, train, subway, even vending machines for drinks and snacks. Number 3, it is cash only in most places. I would say 95% of places. We took around £550 worth of yen each for 2 weeks, and we found this to be a perfect amount. But I'm not a big drinker, and there's not a big drinking culture in Japan. But if you did want to dabble a bit more in sake or Japanese whiskey, you might want to take slightly more. Number 4, use Google Maps for all journeys. We found this to be the most accurate for bus, train and subway times. Number 5, use Google Translate for all translations. You can scan and take a photo of menus and signs, and it will translate it for you there and then. But I will say a lot of restaurants had pictures, so you could easily order. Number 6, if you need the bullet train, especially if you have a large suitcase, make sure you book a minimum of 3 days before. There are limited seats, and there are very limited seats with large suitcases, so don't get caught out. And you also need special blue Shinkansen vending machines to do this, and they are only at certain stations, so do your research beforehand. The only other thing I would say, and this is just a personal preference or opinion, I would not bother with a day trip to Hakone. This was very disappointing for us. We travelled 3 hours there and then 3 hours back. We had bad weather. The town there was not a lot going on. We did manage to see Fuji on the train though, Mount Fuji. But other people have recommended day trips which might be better, such as Kamakura or Nikko, if you did want to do a day trip from Tokyo. So now let's get into the day-to-day activities. So, day 1 was the day we landed at 7 AM, and we couldn't check into our hotel until later. So, no shower and no nap for us. We just had to power through. As always, I'll link all the hotels and bits and pieces in the description. So, we set off to explore the area, and we were in Shinjuku, which was a great area. It was central and well connected. We were peckish, so we headed to the chain Ichiran, which is ramen, and we queued for a little bit, but then we got to go down, and you basically sit in these individual booths, but we were able to sit next to each other, you get served from this hatch, and the kitchen staff are behind the hatch, and they give you an order sheet, and you can pick your toppings, how spicy you want it, how al dente you want the noodles, and any extras. And this was super yummy. Next, we headed to Shibuya Sky Bar, and this is extremely popular, so I recommend pre-booking tickets. So we headed up several floors and escalators, and eventually got to see this amazing view of Tokyo skyline at night with all the lights. And we also could see the Shibuya crossing from above, and everyone looked like little ants. For anyone who doesn't know, the Shibuya crossing is a series of massive zebra crossings with everyone crossing the road in every direction. It's mental. And then we were peckish again, so we headed to Uobei Genki Sushi, which was a sushi train restaurant. Again, we had to queue, but not for long. And you sit on stools and order from a screen, and then your order gets delivered to you by a conveyor belt system. So we had lots of fun ordering and watching all our goodies whip out to us. We got salmon nigiri, tuna nigiri, and ebi prawn tempura maki, as well as many others. And it was the best sushi I've ever had and the cheapest, so it was the equivalent of £10 for both of us to have multiple sushi dishes. And it was far better than anything I've ever had where I paid through the roof. But after this, we were well and truly wiped, so headed back to the hotel finally and crashed out, where we slept like babies. Our hotel room was surprisingly big. It wasn't big, but it wasn't as small as I had been expecting after everybody warned me how you get no room. So, on to day 2, we woke up refreshed and headed to the Meji-Jingu Shrine. And this was one of my favourite things. So, because we got there early, it wasn't too busy, because they can get really overwhelming. But we walked through the Yogoi Park, through the wooden beam structures, and eventually got to the main event, the shrine, where they had these tablets, and we did do one. You basically write on them either what you're grateful for or what you pray for, and then you hang them up near the shrine. And we also saw the marriage tree, or trees, which were these 2 massive trees tied together, and they symbolise great relationships and marriage and so on. Then we went to Harajuku, which is a very edgy, quirky area, known for its fashion. There's lots of shops and vintage bits and pieces. It was really cool. And we made a pit stop to McDonald's, because how could we not? And we got this melon flavoured drink and teriyaki burgers. On to day 3. So we started off with Asakusa, which is the street food district, and we got some goodies. So we tried these cheese and meat croquettes, but they were unlike any croquette I've ever had. They were so good. And also this cremia ice cream, which is Escape to Tokyo Skytree. Again, this is extremely popular, so I would pre-book your tickets. And I deliberately picked half an hour before sunset so we could watch the sunset. And so we set up camp and watched the sunset over Mount Fuji in the background. It was amazing. Then we went to Gyukatsu Motomura for some tonkatsu. We did have to queue for this, but it was so worth it. This was one of our highlights, although arguably they were all highlights. But you basically got to cook your tonkatsu to your liking, however rare or well done you wanted it, and then it was served with sauces and rice and soup. And then we went to Golden Gai, and this is a district with lots of little alleyways with nooks and crannies, and it has these tiny bars. They're so tiny that it can fit about 8 people in each bar, and if anyone wants to come in or go out, everybody needs to get up because there's just no space to move around. But we tried some sake, which, if you don't know, is rice wine, and we also tried some Japanese whiskey, and it was really cute in there, although the sake was not for me, and the whiskey nearly took our heads off. Strong stuff. So then on to day 4. So we started off with a bakery we had seen on a Paul Hollywood TV show called Paul Hollywood Taste Japan, and it was called Kimuraya, and we had the best cinnamon swirls, cinnamon buns, whatever you want to call them, ever. I still think about it now, and we picked up some to take home for the next day too. But then we had a bit of a fail, a bit of a flop, as we wanted to see the Imperial Palace. So we got to the nearest station and there was a bit of confusion or miscommunication on where to go. So instead of turning left, where the Imperial Palace was about 500 metres round to the left, we went right and walked 10 kilometres. Yes, 10 kilometres, all the way around the garden walls until we looped back round to where the Imperial Palace was. And the whole time we're going on kilometre by kilometre. I'm like, this can't be right, but we just kept going on and on until we realised our mistake, but by which point we were closer to carry on round than to turn back. Nightmare. And then the fail/flop continued, because once we got to the Imperial Palace, we were told that you could only see the Imperial Palace by joining a tour. Fine. But the doors were only at 9 AM or 1 PM, and it was 11. And there wasn't much else to do, so we didn't want to wait 2 hours. We'd missed the 9 AM and we didn't want to hang around for the 1 PM. So the closest we got is this picture here, and you can see the back of the Imperial Palace in the very distance. I was not happy chappy after all that walking. But we rallied and we headed to Ginza, which is a shopping district, and I feel like this is a sin, but we didn't do much shopping in Tokyo, but we did go to the famous stationery shop, Atoya, which is 5 or 6 floors of stationery. They had a whole floor for Christmas, so we got all our cards for everyone. And then we went to the famous Michelin star ramen restaurant, Nakiryu, and we did have to wait quite counter where we watched the chef make our ramen, and I got egg, pork, and the red spicy stuff as well, and it was phenomenal, super rich, but super tasty. And then we went to Shinjuku, Gyoen Park. I'd really been wanting to go to the park. There's so much to do in Tokyo, it's hard to find a moment just to chill and sit, but I really wanted to do that. So we got to the park, and as we were entering, they told us, just so you know, the park closes soon, you have about half an hour. And I said, okay, no worries, we'll be quick. So we get in, and I head straight to the Japanese gardens and start whizzing around the lake pond, and there's also a pagoda type thing there. And then they start to come over the tannoy to say, everyone needs to leave the park, we're closing. So everyone starts exiting the park. And as I turn round to tell my boyfriend we need to hurry up and leave the park, he is down on one knee with a ring, and I just left my body at that point. It was surreal. Of course I said yes immediately, but I lost all my senses. I don't remember what was said. I don't remember what was around us. I think because everyone was leaving, luckily no one paid us any attention, which is what we both wanted anyway. And yeah, it was amazing. So perfect, so special. But because I lost all my senses, I said yes, and then I realised, wait, did you actually ask me? I couldn't hear anything. And then over the tannoy, they really wanted people out. They started playing Auld Lang Syne, that New Year's Eve song that I think is Scottish, which is really weird, but now we laugh because that's our song. So we were super happy and couldn't wait to celebrate, but before we could do that, we had to get back to the hotel to get ready to go out, and we also had to FaceTime my parents because my boyfriend had told them before we flew out that he was going to propose, but he had told them he was doing it the previous day. So he said we need to call them because they're going to be so confused that I said I was doing it yesterday and they haven't heard anything from us. So we FaceTimed them, and it was so lovely. Everyone was so happy, and yeah, great stuff. So to celebrate, we headed to the SG Club, which is one of the most famous cocktail bars in Asia, and we had great cocktails. I think I had one that was like grandma's apple strudel or something. I always go for anything apple, cinnamon, rum, and this did not disappoint. And then we headed to Body and Soul Jazz Club, and we'd actually walked past this on a few nights before and thought we should really check that out. And then it turned out to be one of the world's most famous jazz clubs. But because it was so hidden away, we were the only tourists. It was just local people, which again I think is a sign of a good spot. But because we don't speak Japanese, when the band or the musicians in the interlude were cracking jokes or explaining the songs, we had no first off we did the Indiana Jones ride, which was like a 4D interactive ride. That was really cool. And then we went and did the Journey to the Center of the Earth ride, which was a full-on drop. And I am not good with the falling feeling, but I'm so glad we did it. But the queues were long. They were 80 minutes. So even though we were there all day, we didn't get many rides in. So I think it would be worth doing a fast track or something like that. And then once we got back to Tokyo, we were starving and we'd seen this Korean burger pop-up restaurant that everyone was queuing outside, and it turns out it only opened that week, and it was called Mom, M-O-M, and they did fried chicken burgers. So we tried them and they were delish. For dessert, got some taiyaki, and taiyaki are these fish-looking pastries. They have different fillings. We always went for custard, but you could get